Too much cost cutting, no common sense. You have to look at the big picture of things. Sometimes when you have finance people, by the way, just so you know, I'm a finance person. That's my formal training. I'm a financial analyst. The reality is, you got to be careful and make certain you have the sense to make certain that what you cost really ends up looking at big picture wise. You always have to keep the big picture in mind. CPG company had 40 facilities over the world, and by the time it was all done, we can reduce the cost by $40 million a year. Yes, yes, it's my idea, and I want a big bonus at the end of the year. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. We'll just shut down 17 of the plants, lay off all those people, and reduce from 40 down to 23, and we'll operate so much more effectively. Would you? Pay attention to the reality of exactly what that would mean. The new design left no plant at all in North America or Europe. All of a sudden, you move those plants out of two nations that really use the end product on a regular basis. So you had all of a sudden now you had to rely upon things coming into Europe, things coming into North America from third world nations. And how dependable is that train of supplies coming to from raw materials all the way to finished goods? All the way to several thousand-mile journeys to its end selling point. All of a sudden now you had to have higher inventory levels. So you cut out 17 plants and it's really good overall because it's a longer supply time. So you got to pay attention to it just because it looks good on paper and it even makes sense from a fundamental accounting perspective on it. You really have to pay attention to how does it benefit overall the end user? Will they be pleased by the end result? And on a risk management basis, and yes, a lot of people want to cut out those risk management people because they just worry about all the bad things. They don't want to hear about the good things because we're trying to save money. Those risk managers, by the way, I've been in those conversations. So that being said, by the time it was all done, cutting out those 17, all of a sudden the many manufacturing facilities were in Asia and Latin America. We used them all in the process, and we cut out the ones that really are closest to the consumer, which is always, in my opinion, something really dangerous because sometimes that redundancy, even within the same company, is a big deal. You need to pay attention to the cost trade-offs. Closing 17 plants and leaving 23 open will minimize the supply chain cost, but what would happen? The total cost function is quite flat around everything around the total optimal strategy. Increasing the open plans from 23 to 30 costs a little bit more. You're not going to save all that massive amounts of millions. It'll cost less by 2.5 million. You're going to sit down and really improve everything by going from 40 to 30 facilities. That's cutting out really 25% of your plants. That's a huge reduction. Going to probably be a huge cost savings too. I'm not certain about the social implications of it, but you're going to sit down and increase redundancy by just opening, keeping 7 plants still open. You're not losing that much money, except you can always account for 2.5 million. But the aspect of those 7 plants, though, being in prime locations, you'll probably be able to save an awful lot of justification by making certain that the end consumers in North America and Europe have access to the things they need on a regular basis without retaining that whole worry about what's happening. And hopefully, we'll get it from Asia or from South America all the way through this long, long, long supply chain in the process. Pay attention to the common sense aspect. Not everything operates by a strict accounting principle. Speed and sensing responding can help the firm overcome unexpected supply chains. That redundancy, it's going to cost you as a giant firm 2.5 million, but the reality is it may save you a lot of money because you have customers without your product in their shopping cart on a regular basis. Failure to sense that could lead to something going wrong in the supply chain. It can force a company to exit a market because of the fact you simply didn't do a good job in analyzing the needs for those different aspects in the supply chain. Fire at the Philips Semiconductors. All of a sudden, a fire happens over here on this part of planet Earth, and it affects something over here on the other side. A lot of different responses. If you look at read the textbook on Nokia and Ericsson, two totally different issues. And by the time it was all done, one of them almost went totally belly up, handled it just about as bad as you can possibly handle. Nokia, the parts couldn't be sourced anywhere. All is done in about 5 days. You had Ericsson in the process. It was 4 weeks for management to hit the news to reach upper management. There really should be no excuse for that by the time it was all done. Once upon a time, going back in a previous century, you had people that really were dumb and they would put a dunce cap in the back. And yes, I know that's an awful practice, but in this case, a couple Ericsson people needed to put that dunce cap on because that's exactly what they were. They were really bad employees. You want to sit down there and hide something that screwed up and not tell management for weeks. And then 5 weeks after the fire, regarding the severity of the situation, how bad it was, by the time it was all done, Nokia sat down there. They kicked Ericsson left and right. They sucked up all the supply of chips, and they lost. Ericsson lost about $400 million in potential sales. Somebody needed to be fired in the process over there, primarily because not because about the fact that the plant burned or anything else, because he didn't communicate and let people know, and all of a sudden they were slow to the draw. Let's think about contacting upper management. We'll get to it later on. Maybe we could fix it and hide the fact that this fired. By the time it was all done, it was devastating for Ericsson, and Nokia did spectacular in the process. The most difficult risk management method to implement really is making certain you have a flexible supply chain community. Talk to people, try to have that redundancy built in, and have those back contracts all ready to line up in case this goes down over here. What do you have for backup over there? Sometimes you have that backup with a competitor, and sometimes two people that make the same product have to talk to each other in case this goes down and that goes down. Do they have some type of redundancy in the process? It requires all supply chain elements to share culture and work towards the same objectives and not just their own objectives if you want to have a true community. Too much cost cutting with no common sense. Plan to cut costs, but test it before you do it. Take care.